Imagine for a second that you are standing in a luxury suite. You're looking out through this pristine floor-to-ceiling glass.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And down below you is the grassy field of Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Usually right where you're looking, the Miami Dolphins are kicking off.
Right, the stands are shaking. You've got that smell of tailgate barbecue in the air.
Exactly. It is the absolute picture of traditional American Sunday football. But today, the gridiron is completely gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that entire space has been overtaken by this sprawling, hyper-advanced traveling village. You are looking down at the Formula One paddock.
It's such a visually striking contrast, you know?
It really is.
You have the ultimate symbol of traditional American sports infrastructure, and it's just completely transformed by this highly engineered, European-dominated racing circus.
It's two entirely different cultural ecosystems just colliding in one stadium.
Yeah.
And that collision is our mission today. Welcome to the deep dive. We're unpacking what might be one of the most pivotal, high-stakes moments in American automotive history.
Which is saying a lot.
Right. We are looking at Cadillac's inaugural race as the newest American team on the Formula One grid.
Yeah, they are stepping right into their own backyard at the Miami Grand-Prix to stake this massive, highly public claim.
And for you listening, whether you are like a diehard gearhead or someone fascinated by high-stakes corporate strategy.
Or even if you just love dissecting how massive cultural shifts happen.
Exactly. This is a masterclass in brand reinvention. What you're witnessing is a 123-year-old titan of American industry General Motors, and specifically the Cadillac brand risking its entire legacy.
They are attempting to completely rebuild their identity in the public eye around this incredibly defiant ethos of Detroit versus everybody.
And they're choosing the most heavily scrutinized sporting arena on earth to do it. So, okay, let's unpack this, because Cadillac is making it very clear right out of the gate. They are not here to play nice.
No, they are definitely not quietly observing from the back of the grid.
Right. But to really grasp why a giant of the Detroit Big Three, Ford, Stellantis, and GM is throwing its weight into Formula One right now, we have to look at the battlefield they're walking onto.
We do. And the source material describes this fascinating concept called the American motorsport paradox.
I found this so interesting.
It really is. The paradox is rooted in how we live versus what we watch. The United States is quite literally a nation paved by the automobile.
Right. Our interstate system, the suburban sprawl.
Our daily routines, everything was shaped by the car. Think about your own daily life. The car is practically an extension of the American living room.
But despite all that, historically, the American public has treated motorsports as a fringe sideshow.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets treated almost like a regional niche hobby. If you look at something like NASCAR, it has a deeply passionate fan base, sure.
Oh, absolutely passionate?
But for decades, it felt very culturally gated. Like if you weren't from a specific region or didn't grow up with it, you likely didn't tune in. We treat driving as a chore, not a spectacle.
And the viewership numbers from the sources highlight that gap perfectly.
Yeah.
Like a standard NFL regular season game pulls in around 18.7 million viewers.
Which is a cultural juggernaut.
Right. Now compare that to domestic racing. NASCAR, the biggest homegrown series, averages about 2.5 million viewers.
That's a huge drop.
Yeah. And Formula One, historically in the U.S., hovered around 1.3 million. And IMSA, which hosts major American endurance races like the Rolex 24 at Daytona, draws roughly 1.1 million.
So there's always been this massive canyon between the car culture of the country and the sports viewing habits of the country.
Exactly. But Formula One has recently figured out how to bridge that canyon.
Yeah, F1 isn't operating like a traditional American motorsport anymore. It has just exploded into a global pop culture phenomenon.
It transcends the actual racing now.
It really does. It's capturing the highest concentration of Gen Z and millennial viewers of any sport in the United States right now.
Which is wild. And General Motors spotted that exact crack in the cultural wall. Yeah. F1 transitioned from being this elitist, distant European engineering competition into a full-blown lifestyle brand.
And we know exactly the mechanism behind that shift, right? It's the media storytelling. Netflix's Drive to Survive docuseries completely changed the formula.
Oh, 100%.
Instead of just showing cars going in circles, they put cameras in the paddock. They turned the drivers and team principals into reality TV stars.
They explained the ruthless politics, the contract betrayals,
the billionaire rivalries. They made it make sense to everyday people. Add in the upcoming F1 film starring Brad Pitt and Apple TV's deep integrations, and suddenly this sport feels entirely accessible to the American masses.
That media exposure laid the groundwork. And the proof of that soaring demand is sitting right on the official race calendar.
Right.
The United States is currently the only country in the entire world hosting 3 separate Formula One races in a single season.
Miami, Austin, and Las Vegas.
Yeah, 3 separate Grand-Prix weekends in one country is unheard of.
It really proves the audience is just starving for this.
It does. And according to GM's Executive Director of Global Motorsports Communications, Adrian Atkinson Cadillac has been maneuvering toward this grid for 4.5 years.
Wow, that long.
Yeah. He didn't just call their entry at the Miami Grand Prix a race. He called it a homecoming.
A homecoming.
He literally referred to it as the marker of a manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny. That is heavy language.
It really is.
It implies they feel they have an inherent right to take up space at the top of the food chain. But, you know, that raises a glaring question for me.
What's that?
I completely understand the demographics and the audience shift. But General Motors is a massive corporate umbrella. They own Chevrolet, Buick, GMC. Why take this astronomical, highly public risk with the Cadillac brand specifically?
Right.
Like, if you want to sell cars to Gen Z, why put your historic luxury crown jewel in the firing line?
Well, because the crown jewel was actively losing its luster, and the highest levels of leadership knew they needed a radical intervention.
The sources include a quote from GM CEO Mary Barra that honestly blew my mind.
Yeah. Oh, the Autosport Business Exchange quote.
Yeah. She flat out admitted that Cadillac, and I quote, went through a period where we lost our way.
You almost never hear the CEO of a Fortune 500 company speak like that.
Never. Usually you get corporate spin about, repositioning for market synergies or whatever.
Right.
But for her to publicly admit that their premier luxury division had an identity crisis is incredibly raw.
And that vulnerability is the crucial context for this entire F1 venture. They couldn't just launch another advertising campaign.
They needed to shock the system.
Exactly. And you really can't untangle this corporate strategy from the deeply personal stakes involved, specifically for GM President Mark Rойsс.
He's the guy orchestrating this from that suite at Hard Rock Stadium, right?
Yeah, that's him. Mark Rойsс is a 40-year veteran of General Motors. But his connection goes much deeper than just a long resume. He is following directly in his father's footsteps.
Because his dad was president of GM in the early 90s.
Right. So for Rойsс, General Motors is literally his family legacy. He grew up in an era where Cadillac genuinely held the title of standard of the world.
And he wants it back.
He is dead set on clawing that title back.
Which feels like an impossible tightrope to walk in today's market, honestly.
How so?
Well, on one hand, the entire automotive industry is pivoting toward battery electric vehicles. Consumers are stressing over charging infrastructure and electric range.
Sure.
But on the other hand, to legitimately claim the standard of the world title in luxury, you still need that visceral track-bred performance. You need the roar of combustion and the theater of the racetrack.
And Rойsс firmly believes that you cannot call yourself the standard of the world if you aren't willing to prove it on the world's most unforgiving stage.
Which is Formula One.
Formula One is the ultimate crucible. If you can engineer a car that survives and wins there, your brand perception changes overnight.
Okay, I hear the romanticism in that. The whole Detroit versus everybody underdog narrative makes for a great movie script.
Yeah, it does.
But I have to push back here. Formula One is a ruthlessly European-dominated sport. We are talking about teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull.
Yeah, the Titans.
Teams who rely on billions of dollars of entrenched infrastructure and decades of continuous, unbroken development. Does a gritty Detroit attitude actually translate into microscopic engineering precision?
Attitude alone absolutely does not win Formula One races. The stopwatch doesn't care about your feelings.
Right.
But grit is the currency that gets the funding approved when a board of directors is staring at a multi-million-dollar budget proposal.
That makes sense.
For Rойsс, the skepticism is the actual fuel. When reporters asked him about this defiant ethos, he leaned right into it.
What did he say?
He said, "Do you know how many people have said you can't do it, you don't know how to do it, you're going to fail, or good luck? Lots."
So he's treating every doubt as a personal insult.
He called the move to F1 hugely personal and defiant. He's essentially trying to carry GM, Cadillac, and American automotive pride on his back.
Uh-oh.
But your pushback on the engineering is the million-dollar question. Attitude without the machinery is just hot air. How does Cadillac actually plan to build a car that can hunt down a Ferrari?
Yeah, because the sources keep using this term, a works team, to describe Cadillac's ultimate goal. It sounds like standard corporate jargon, but it actually carries massive technical implications for how the car is built, right?
It does.
Yeah.
A works team is basically the holy grail of Formula One infrastructure.
Yeah.
It means the team is owned, funded, and operated directly by an automobile manufacturer. And crucially, they build both their own chassis, the physical body, and aerodynamics, and their own engine.
So the entire vehicle is a holistic, synchronized package developed under one roof.
Exactly.
But Cadillac is not a works team yet. The sources note they are currently sharing Ferrari power units, meaning they are buying the actual heart of their race car from one of their biggest rivals.
Which seems crazy, but purchasing engines is a common stopgap for newer or smaller teams. Haas and Sauber do the same thing. It gets your car on the starting grid, but you are perpetually at a disadvantage.
Because you're forced to design your chassis aerodynamics around the physical dimensions of an engine that Ferrari designed for their car, not yours.
Yeah. It's like trying to tailor a bespoke suit for someone without knowing their exact measurements. You can never truly optimize the aerodynamics if you don't have total control over the engine inside.
So Reyes's mechanical endgame is to sever that reliance on Ferrari and bring all engine production in-house.
And not just in-house, but specifically onto American soil. General Motors is nearing completion on a brand new facility in North Carolina dedicated entirely to forging these F1 power units natively.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Building an engine facility takes years, but the regulations dictating what kind of engines you can build might be shifting beneath their feet.
Oh, the V8 rumor.
Yes. There is a massive rumor swirling around the paddock, sparked by FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem. The whisper is that it's not a question of if Formula One will mandate a return to massive V8 engines, but when.
And if that rumor becomes reality, it completely resets the chessboard.
How so?
Well, to understand why, you have to look at the current technology.
Yeah.
Right now, F1 cars run on V6 turbo hybrids. These are arguably the most complicated engines on the planet.
I've heard they're insane.
They rely on incredibly guarded electrical recovery systems that harvest kinetic energy from the brakes and thermal energy from the exhaust just to generate power.
It's essentially aerospace engineering. Mercedes and Ferrari have spent over a decade and billions of dollars perfecting that specific hybrid alchemy.
Right.
So trying to beat them at the V6 hybrid game is like trying to rewrite the source code of a live operating system while the Europeans have been compiling theirs for 10 years.
That is a perfect analogy. But a V8 engine is a totally different paradigm.
Yeah.
A V8 relies much more on raw, naturally aspirated displacement. It's brute force combustion.
And if there's one thing Detroit has spent the last century perfecting, it is the V8 engine.
Exactly. And when Reyes was asked about this potential shift in the rules, his response was incredibly telling. He respectfully acknowledged the investments the current teams have made in the hybrid era.
Naturally.
But then he added, with his very coy smirk, people are talking about maybe a V8 and, well, we know how to make a V8.
We know how to make a V8. I love that. It's the most authentically Detroit flex possible.
It really is.
And it isn't just empty swagger. Like, as a listener, you might picture Cadillac as the brand that makes your grandfather's luxury sedan. But they actually have a lethal, modern racing pedigree. They aren't starting from zero.
No, they absolutely have the receipts. They kicked off their modern endurance racing era in 2000 with the North Star LMP, which were these low-slung, incredibly fast Le Mans prototype spaceships.
Oh, wow.
Then they made a wildly dominant return in 2017 to the DPi and GTP classes.
And just to clarify for those not deep into the racing weeds, DPi and GTP aren't just modified street cars.
Right.
These are top-tier, hyper-advanced prototype race cars built from the ground up to survive brutal 24-hour endurance races.
And Cadillac hasn't just competed in those classes. They have stood on the podium at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Which is huge.
They know how to extract massive power from an engine while ensuring it survives nonstop abuse at the absolute limit. If the F1 regulations shift to favor of V8, Cadillac instantly gains a strategic foothold against the European grid.
But, you know, building a championship-winning engine facility in North Carolina is still a 5-year dream.
Yeah, that's true.
The corporate reality is that Cadillac has to justify this massive Formula One budget to their shareholders today.
Right.
So how does a long-term racing strategy translate into actual cars rolling off a dealership lot?
That is the multi-million-dollar challenge. And the automotive industry calls the solution the halo effect.
It's a halo effect.
Yeah, the goal is to generate such an intense halo of prestige, danger, and cutting-edge performance on the track that the glamour literally shines down onto the consumer vehicles you sell to the public.
And the sources detail a very physical manifestation of the strategy that just dropped.
The new Blackwing.
Yes, the newly unveiled CT5V Blackwing F1 Collector Series. Picture yourself looking at the specs for this car because they are staggering.
They're wild.
First, they are capping production at exactly 26 units worldwide.
Which instantly manufactures extreme exclusivity and collector demand.
Exactly. It comes draped in this matte midnight stone frost paint, which makes it look like a stealth bomber, and features discreetly embossed F1 logos.
Nice touch.
But the mechanical specs are where Cadillac proves they understand the assignment. It delivers 685 horsepower and 673 pound-feet of torque.
That is absurd power for a street car.
And here is the absolute kicker for automotive purists. This F1 tribute car is exclusively offered with a 6-speed manual transmission.
Which is an incredibly deliberate, provocative choice.
Why do you say that?
Well, if you've ever driven a modern European supercar, you know they almost universally use paddle-shifted dual-clutch automatics. Computers can shift gears in milliseconds, which is objectively faster on a track. The manual transmission has been largely abandoned in the pursuit of clinical efficiency.
Ah, I see. So by forcing a 6-speed manual into a 685 horsepower track monster, Cadillac is actively choosing theater over microsecond.
Exactly. A manual transmission requires the driver to physically engage with the machine. It requires skill.
They are screaming to the enthusiast community, "We prioritize the human experience. We are one of you."
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you realize this strategy of signaling elite exclusivity extends far beyond the sheet metal. Cadillac isn't just trying to infiltrate the racing paddock.
No.
They are systematically targeting closed-circuit, premium lifestyle spaces. F1 is just the tip of the spear.
They really are expanding their footprint into every gated cultural community they can find.
Oh, everywhere.
The sources note they are deepening their involvement with the U.S. Open for tennis. They are expanding sponsorships within the PGA Tour. They are launching fashion collaborations with Tommy Hilfiger. And they're even partnering with Redan, which is John Buscemi's hyper-exclusive members-only golf club.
I mean, think about the demographic overlap between Formula One, high-stakes tennis, private golf clubs, and high fashion.
It's all the same crowd.
Cadillac is meticulously crafting a new brand identity. They want to be seen as elite and absolutely premium, but grounded by that American earned-it grit.
They don't want to be the brand you buy just because of a historic badge.
Right. They want to be the brand you buy because it aligns with a fiercely competitive lifestyle.
So what does this all mean for the immediate future? We have the media hype from Drive to Survive. We have the stealth bomber Blackwing tribute cars. We have the golf and tennis sponsorship signaling luxury.
Yeah, they've got all the pieces.
But at the end of the day, Formula One is a racing series. The stopwatch is the ultimate judge, and the reality on the track is harsh. Let's look at their lineup for this 2026 season.
Let's do it.
They signed Valtteri Bottas, who is an incredibly experienced, proven race winner. And they brought on Sergio Checo Perez.
Both solid drivers.
But during this inaugural weekend at the Miami Grand-Prix, the very race Mark Rойсс is watching from that luxury suite, Perez finished 16th on the grid.
Yeah, and that is a sobering, necessary reality check. You can have all the marketing brilliance in the world.
Right.
You can have the legacy of General Motors financing you, and you could have a defiant attitude. But 16th place is 16th place.
F1 is ruthless.
It really is. The road ahead for Cadillac to bridge the gap between being an intriguing American storyline and becoming a legitimate championship contender is incredibly long and steep.
It requires surviving years of public beatings by Mercedes and Red Bull while they fine-tune that North Carolina engine facility.
Precisely. But to synthesize everything we've pulled from the sources today, Cadillac's play here is multifaceted.
Oh.
Yes, the ultimate goal is to win world championships. But right now, in the immediate term, they're leveraging the immense cultural gravity of Formula One to pull the rest of American car culture along with it.
That makes total sense.
For decades, motorsports, golf, and luxury fashion have felt like gated communities. By kicking the doors down with that Detroit versus everybody attitude, Cadillac is using European racing to redefine what American luxury looks and feels like.
And for you listening, that is why this deep dive matters. It is a fascinating, real-time case study in corporate survival.
Absolutely.
This is a legacy institution, a company that literally helped pave the American highway system, refusing to quietly fade away into the history books.
Right. Instead of playing it safe and just manufacturing comfortable luxury SUVs, they are voluntarily stepping into the most highly scrutinized, high-tech, and ruthless arena in the world to prove they still belong at the top.
They're putting over a century of reputation on the line.
It is a phenomenal gamble. If they fail, it will be a highly public, multi-billion-dollar embarrassment.
But if they succeed, if they can actually engineer their way to the front of that grid, they will have successfully rewritten the DNA of the Cadillac brand for the next century. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive.
I'm ready.
Picture that luxury suite in Hard Rock Stadium one more time. You're looking out over a grid of meticulously engineered European machines racing around an American football stadium with a 123-year-old Detroit automaker trying to claim the crown.
It's quite the image.
It is. If Cadillac successfully uses this decidedly European racing series to redefine its identity and its street cred back home, does the concept of an American car even mean what it used to? Or has luxury automotive culture completely outgrown national borders? Think about it.